Hello and welcome to Sydney's Oran Park Raceway for the 1997 Trans-Tasman Super Truck Racing Championship. The Aussies have fought the Kiwis successfully over the past few years. This is one of the warm-up races and you can expect there'll be plenty of fireworks and everybody getting revved up for what looks like a great day's action. Rolling start with you. The rolling start tactics absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly get off the line. They arrive down the end of the straight very fast on their first lap, and brakes are critical, and position on the track is very critical because whoever leads in the first turn is usually the guy who's going to be very hard to overtake.
Well, let's have a look at them. There's two classes of trucks racing together here, and it's pretty easy to spot the differences. The little trucks are the SBRs, around about 330 horsepower, versus the big monsters, 6 tonnes and better than 1200 horsepower. And as you can imagine, they really do have their differences out there on the track, and that is Jeff Mackin up the inside through the dirt. Boy, oh boy, he has really decided to stamp his name on this one early. Have a look at the advantage the little truck has down through the S's. That's where he has to make his ground, Chris, and try and get away before they hit the straight.
Yeah, I mean, those rear wings seem to work pretty well too, considering there's not much weight on the back of it. I mean, it really does hook up and seem to be flowing nicely through most of those corners.
It certainly does. Bill Cedars sitting in second position. He's been in this game a while, as has Frank Amoroso. The names for truck racing fans should be familiar, and in 1997 we've seen the advent of the wings on the SBRs. They are starting to really look the part. The air's not real clean at the back of the truck, but any advantage will do, thank you very much. Jeff Mackin stunned everyone with an enormous performance at the first round of the Australian Super Truck Racing Championship here at Oran Park. He put that little SBR truck onto the front row as he gets it sideways, heading up through IC Coffee Corner. That is a performance, and no one could believe, Chris Holmes, that he actually managed to get to the front row of the Australian Championship race.
Yeah, I mean, the way he's muscling himself around through those other trucks in the S's, I wouldn't like to be arguing with some of these 6-ton monsters going through there, but he's certainly arguing and winning the argument.
I often wonder whether he has any glass in the mirrors, because he doesn't really ever seem to check out what's going on behind him. That Cedars there in second position, but Jeff Mackin, he really has the machine sorted for the conditions, and Oran Park is a flowing circuit. It looks simplistic when you look at it on a map, but when you try and string the corners together, absolutely critical that you keep the momentum going. And just look at him now, once he's in free and clear air, he is very, very tidy out there. That is Billy Cedars, and just look at the momentum of that truck. It's easy to feel and see that it weighs 6 tonne, and he is really having to work hard to control it as they head up and over the dogleg. Trucks are limited to 100 miles per hour, or 160 kilometres an hour. You can do it either electronically, or you can have some of them have a gauge, some of them have a light, some of them have a buzzer that tells the driver, hey, ease out of it, because if you go over 100 miles an hour, you will be disqualified. It's a safety-based setup, and the idea is that the tyres will do the distance under those conditions. Let's have a look as they head down to the bottom turn. And it's not many laps, this is only a sprint race, so as far as the little SBRs are concerned, they can afford to chew up the tyres. Interestingly, Chris Holmes, a lot of them are recapped tyres.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of sophistication in the tyre technology these days, even though they're recaps, they certainly get the job done. Guy having a big lose through the dust and the smoke there, I can't quite make out who it is.
I think that's Adam Gaffero, it certainly was, and he's managed to get it back onto the track A-OK. He is the son of Frank Gaffero, and everyone knows Smokin' Frank Gaffero in the Bandag Bullet. And look at Mackin up onto the straight. How sideways do you want to get? You've got to remember, it is a truck. I mean, we're not talking about a sprint car here. That is phenomenal vehicle control. I was going to say car control, but it doesn't really rate. Gary Wilmington, the touring car driver, heading up onto the straight as well. And doesn't he steer some different equipment? Imagine the difference between a touring car and an SBR truck. But it is Mackin down the bottom one more time. Behind him, Billy Cedars, and Adam Gaffero's fallen back a little bit. That's Falk sitting in third position. Now that is an immaculately turned out truck.
Yeah, talking before about the technology with the tyres, there's also a lot of technology in getting these trucks to handle. As you mentioned before, they've got a speed limiting device, so they can't exceed the speed limit down the straight. That means that if you want an advantage, you've got to find it in the way your chassis is built, the way you've got your truck handling. And these guys are sourcing things like lightweight aluminium, screen hangers, and all sorts of odds and sods that you wouldn't expect to find in a truck, but they are fairly decent racing trucks.
Mackin up onto the straight one more time. Cedars in second position. Then it's John Falk coming through. And Adam Gaffero should be sitting back in fourth position. Now, John Falk, fairly new to the game, and he is putting his best foot forward in preparation. That truck looks a treat. And the SBRs have come on development-wise over a period of time. Oran Park, the home of truck racing in this country. The very first truck races in Australia were held at Oran Park. Oh, gee, well over a decade now, I suppose, they've been racing here. And it just seems to be the place where everyone gravitates to if you want to be successful in truck racing, so much as even the competitors are living near the circuit. Jeff Mackin, his final time, heading up on the spectator straight. Again, wheel spinning, power slides his way up onto the straight. That is absolutely phenomenal. And the spectators definitely getting their money's worth today. Conditions absolutely perfect. Temperature not too hot. The tyres will probably do the distance, unless, of course, you're the tyres underneath Jeff Mackin's machine. He is absolutely torturing his equipment at the moment and really flying. What a great win for him. So, great way to start out the day for Jeff Mackin with a win. Billy Cedars in for second, and John Falk gets across the line for third place. Got to hand it to them as you... Oh, have a look at this. Frank Amoroso heading onto the straight for the final time, and it just goes to show how much horsepower these tracks have. He has really turned it on here and manages to gather it all back up and get on with it. Well, there's your winner, Jeff Mackin, and look at this. Well, you know how to power slide. Why not turn it on for the crowd? Time now to do a little heavy hauling. It's the 1997 Trans-Tasman Super Truck Racing Championship, brought to you by Shell Rimula. Rules are pretty straightforward. The three fastest Australian trucks go head-to-head with the three fastest from New Zealand. Multiple races, in fact, heading your way right now are 2 3-lappers. Nathan Prendergast, how's this one? Solid captain of New Zealand, but the Australian reigning Super Truck Racing champion. If you can figure that out, you're better than us.
And it's the first time for 1997 that we see Ron Salter and Rodney Crick, both of them failing to come here for the first round of the Australian Super Truck Racing Championship underway. Now we have a start. I think it's Ron Salter with the big jump. Look at the lead he's produced. Rodney Crick has got to fight early.
Good start there. Ron Salter really did pick when the green light would come on. It's a rolling start. The pace car pulls to the left, and you really have to sort of just guess a little bit. Neil Allport from New Zealand sitting in third. Then it's Glenn Dobson, Gary Davey, and a new man to racing here for the Super Truck Racing in Sydney is Malcolm Little from New Zealand. So welcome to a new Kiwi here to do battle with the Aussies. So far, the Kiwis haven't done it. It's been Australia in all of the Trans-Tasman challenges. Ron Salter is determined to change that this year, and he's getting off to a pretty good start as he heads them down the straight.
Well, the Kiwis haven't won the Trans-Tasman. However, you can see the big number 1 emblazoned on the side of Ron Salter's truck. He is the Australian Super Truck Racing champion. Had parts problem with the first round, couldn't make it, and of course Rodney Crick destroyed the truck. Had a big hit coming into Momo. They've done a big thrash to get the truck here for the Trans-Tasman, and it should be flying.
Well, they have managed to not only repair the truck, but take the time to do a few little modifications. Cedars, Dobson, Gary Davey. Look, these are the number 1 competitors in truck racing virtually in the southern half of the world. They are fast, and when you look at Ronnie Salter, that truck reputed to have cost well over $2 million to build. The development from CAT comes via air freight, believe it or not. They air freight engines to him, transmissions, whatever he needs. So he certainly has the backing of a very large corporation. Neil Allport, ex-rally champion from New Zealand. He's not too shy when it comes to getting the thing sideways.
We've seen him on the grass a few times here at Oran Park. They're not really meant to do that. Rodney Crick now starting to close the gap to Ron Salter. These machines very quick. Ron Salter's truck reputed to have 1,500 horsepower, and the problem is getting that sort of power to the ground. The turbo boost comes on, we see a lot of oversteer, and of course the truck's weighing into the 6-ton region. They really need to be nice and steady when they come to the corners. We do have problems with braking, and that's why they're limited to 160 kilometres an hour.
Definitely got to try and keep the top speeds down. This is the final time, up and over the dog leg. Rodney Crick looks to the inside, tries to drive over the back of Salter. Obviously it's not worked for him. Salter runs wide. He's not happy about this as Crick up and onto the straight will take victory in this, the first of the 3 lappers for the Trans-Tasman Challenge. what a performance. I can assure you, Nathan Brendergast, there will be some discussions from Ron Salter about this. Let's see it on replay. Now you can see what happened. It was Rodney Crick who had the pace on board. He just was a little late on timing his run. He'd come from behind, had more pace. Ron Salter just wrong place, wrong time, and there's been a coming together. In fact, over the years, there's been a fair few contacts between these two competitors. I don't think Ron Salter's going to be too pleased. He is on fire here at Oran Park. He wants to win. And, well, let's just hope that it works out okay in the steward's room a little later. Now, rolling start, they regrid up immediately, come back around Nathan. No time for any sort of a break.
What a way to lose a race. As you say, Ron Salter will be a little bit unhappy about that. They move to the rear of the grid now. Everyone comes one place forward, and it's Allport and Thompson from the front. We get the green light. You can see the pace car pull off to the inside. And doesn't that Allport truck sound mean when it's on song?
Oh, yes, Gary Thompson also has a bit of horsepower on tap, but not enough. Allport, great run here, will head them down. Glenn Dobson's come along for the ride. What about Rodney Crick? Round the outside now, he might slot himself into third place, at least into fourth. A brilliant run from him. There's Ronnie Salter sitting back a little further afield. Remember, these are the top guns, the top qualifiers, both for the Australians and the New Zealanders. It's only 3 places for each country, so you've got to fight for it. Talking about fight for it, I'm not sure that was 100% legal, Rodney Crick, but the way it's worked, and really, I mean, the track is the Blackstone, Nathan.
I know, he's just rounded up 3 competitors by taking the shortcut across the grass. We've seen him do some pretty wild things in these first 2 lappers. We've got plenty more racing from these trucks to come, though.
That is desperation, to actually try and drive right through the S's without touching the tail. Here it is on replay. Now you pick it for yourself. You decide for yourself whether those 2 white lines that mark out the racetrack were kind of pushed to the side a little bit. Either way, it is Neil Allport still in control. And remember, they're only 3-lap races. There's not a lot of time to either plan tactics or do anything other than possibly a Rodney Crick, which is to charge across the infield. In fact, Rodney Crick single-handedly, well, almost single-handedly, responsible for having them move the marshal's box up on the dog leg because it was such a popular shortcut. They're all into it now. Ron Salter ahead of Ghost Scarcella, fighting for space on the track, but it is New Zealanders. Neil Allport looking for the points. It's a point score, and remember, so far the New Zealanders have not won a Trans-Tasman.
Well, they've brought a pretty tough team this year. Allport leads it at the moment. Wow, pretty late down into this tight left hand up onto the straight. The front wheel starting to slide a bit, but it's managed to hold. This truck has understeered in the past. Looks as though they've cured that problem in 97.
For those who have followed truck racing over the last few years, I know it's a bit inopportune time possibly to discuss it, but the fact of the matter is that they really are starting to control the smoke on these trucks as well. In Europe, no smoke at all. And if your truck's putting out too much smoke these days here in Australia, black flag into the pits. Well, Allport looks like he's got control of this one. Glenn Dobson in second for Australia. Rodney Crick with a few bits and pieces hanging off the old Shell Volvo. But he looks pretty strong in third. We'll have to see what the adjudicators say about some of the driving, the infield racing that's been going on. But Glenn Dobson, look, tidy driver, tidy truck, and an ex-motorcycle racer, as you would expect. Fairly relaxed out there and very, very smooth. When you've got 6 tonne of steel, pretty easy to get it sideways and get yourself into lots of trouble. Up onto the straight for the final time. Neil Allport looks strong. Glenn Dobson pushing him all the way. I don't think he's going to do it. And Neil Allport will take maximum points in this, the second race in the 1997 Trans-Tasman Shell Rimula Super Truck Racing Challenge. Hello and welcome to Sydney's Oran Park Raceway for the 1997 Trans-Tasman Super Truck Racing Championship. Aussies have fought the Kiwis successfully over the past few years. This is one of the warm-up races, and you can expect there'll be plenty of fireworks, everybody getting revved up for what looks like a great day's action. Rolling start with you. The rolling start tactics, absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly get off the line. They arrive down at the end of the straight very fast on their first lap, and brakes are critical, and position on the track is very critical, because whoever leads in the first turn is usually the guy who's going to be very hard to overtake.
Well, let's have a look at them. There's two classes of trucks racing together here, and it's pretty easy to spot the differences. The little trucks are the SBRs, around about 330 horsepower, versus the big monsters, 6 tons and better than 1200 horsepower. And as you can imagine, they really do have their differences out there on the track. And that is Jeff Mackin up the inside through the dirt. Boy, oh boy, he has really decided to stamp his name on this one early. Have a look at the advantage the little truck has down through the S's. That's where he has to make his ground, Chris, and try and get away before they hit the straight.
Yeah, I mean, those rear wings seem to work pretty well too, considering there's not much weight on the back of it. I mean, it really does hook up and seem to be flowing nicely through most of those corners.
It certainly does. Bill Cedar sitting in second position. He's been in this game a while, as has Frank Amoroso. The names for truck racing fans should be familiar, and in 1997 we've seen the advent of the wings on the SBRs. They are starting to really look the part. The air's not real clean at the back of the truck, but any advantage will do. Thank you very much. Jeff Mackin stunned everyone with an enormous performance at the first round of the Australian Super Truck Racing Championship here at Oran Park. He put that little SBR truck onto the front row as he gets it sideways, heading up through IC Coffee Corner. That is a performance, and no...
They come back again. I mean, you watch what some of these guys get them really sideways, and you think with the dynamics of a huge moving object like that, it just wouldn't come back. But it just shows you that they really are that nimble. The sophistication in the handling. They can hang the tail out like that, a little bit of opposite lock, a little correction, dab on the brakes, and they are quite controllable.
John Falk lifting inside rear wheels, heading down into the bottom turn. Now that, by anyone's stretch of the imagination, is really pushing it hard on the track. During the Genius going A-OK in his big Kenworth. But John Falk, look at this, what a great run. This is all he needs, is some clear track and just try and pull away. I think this is going to be an SBR benefit from start to finish. I've got a feeling the handicappers might have gotten this one a little bit wrong when it came to setting the big truck so far back. Now, I don't think the SBR competitors are going to complain, because they seem to have some clear track. Have a look at that as they come up onto the straight. Quite a few of the trucks just go so close, and then there's the others that actually go right into the wall, but it just seems to bounce them back onto the track and straighten them up. There's Falk, John Falk, looking pretty good out there. He's from Victoria, and a fairly new name to this game, but boy, isn't that truck turned out. That is a real treat. Here's some of the big guns. Now let's have a look. Frank Amoroso, truck 96, the Fate Racing, and Frank Amoroso Trucking Emporium is what we've named it, and that truck sings. Boy, oh boy, that thing really makes some horsepower, and you can hear it. The twin turbos make a whistle and a whine that sounds like nothing else out here at Oran Park. John Falk, I think he really does have control of this. I can't see anyone besting him, given that he doesn't make a mistake. But really, the SBRs, they've been given it virtually on the plate, Chris Holmes. I think the big guns just don't have the time to run them down.
Yeah, the time's running out, and there's not enough of it for those big guys to try and run these little SBRs down. Again, looking at the braking move down there, I mean, when they're right at the very limit like this, the tyres are copping an absolute caning. The whole truck is really just tweaked up, and it's a credit to these guys how reliable they are. You're too aggressive down to that, and no quarter given. It's great to see them put in such a close race and such a great finishing run.
They see it starting to put some pressure on Frank Amoroso's machine as they come out of the AC Coffee Corner. Along Spectator Straight, right where they are now, they're very close to their 100-mile-an-hour speed limit. But look at this, Jeff Mackin all over the back of John Falk's machine. Mackin up the inside, making space. Oh dear, oh dear, can you believe that? Now I'm sure that the stewards will be very interested in that quartermaster's report. It continues to go on. Boy, oh boy, there's trucks all over the place down here. And it just goes to show that once debris starts getting thrown up and there's smoke and tyre smoke everywhere, no one behind really does know what's going on. Now, John Falk pushed right back, and that was a suicidal run up the inside from Jeff Mackin. And regardless of how fast that truck is, there just was not enough space. So Seaton now, he is battling in the Susie Wreck machine. the little SBRs have taken the wings on board very quickly, haven't they, Chris? They really have, well, had the chance to run them. That's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, I don't know how many of those things are going to be left in one piece. By the end of this, there's panels flying everywhere. I don't know why the sudden desperation, but there's certainly a lot of desperation creeping in at the moment and a lot of panels being struck.
Well, Stan Seaton, he's hanging on to this one for all he's worth. Then you've got John Falk in behind him. But that was a big, big run. Oh, look at this down in the S's. I have never seen this at Oran Park before. I've never seen a truck go over. They are so, so low as far as all the weight's concerned. I mean, they look tall, but the battle continues. We'll find out what happened down in the S's. There's a lot of debris here coming up onto the straight, making life absolute misery for these guys. Across the line they come, and John Falk, Stan Seaton and Mark Morton have managed to grab the points, but wow. I think the race obviously has been red flagged, and so they've decided that because of the dramas down in the S's, they've got to decide the race now. But boy, what excitement there for the last couple of laps. That is typical of truck racing here at Oran Park, and that's what we're bringing you, the Trans-Tasman. Super Trucks making their way up onto the grid for a rolling start with me in commentary, Chris Holmes. What a format, 2 by 3 lap races. They do it twice, then into a 15-lap final. And you can well imagine that the Aussies head-to-head with the Kiwis. No love lost here.
No, I mean, this format, you've really got to have your act together from the drop of the flag, and you've got to be into it straight up.
Malcolm Little coming from pole position. On the outside of him, it is Glenn Dobson, rotating grids, so you get a chance to have the front row regardless of where you finished in prior races. The Momo course pace car pulls to the inside, looking for green and a start. Malcolm Little, the newcomer in Australian truck racing, well known in New Zealand, will head them down, but Ron Salter through the dirt. And look at this, I tell you what, this man is taking absolutely no prisoners from rear of field. That is anticipating the start possibly a little early, Chris Holmes, but either way it's worked for him, and it's still under green, so as far as the official's concerned, that's a race start.
Yeah, I mean, Solar just timed it brilliantly. He got a great run down the inside there. A couple of wheels on the dirt didn't really make that much difference because he had the momentum going and it flowed into the next turn.
Rodney Crick there, truck 7 in the Shell Rimula Super Machine, getting a little sideways. I've noticed that the little SBR trucks are using wings on the rear of them. I'd love to see them on these super trucks. They would be absolutely brilliant. Glenn Dobson heads down into Momo for the first time. Remember, only 3 laps, and Australian glory at stake here. The New Zealanders have not won a Trans-Tasman Truck Racing Challenge over the years. In fact, it's been running in New Zealand. Having come to New South Wales now, it is a matter of whoever takes this event out will be the victors. So all pressure on the Australians and all pressure right now on Glenn Dobson. He's keeping it tight. He's not getting threatened by this man behind him, Ron Salter. And Ron Salter, a tough man, gives no quarter to anyone on any racetrack, any time. He is well known for his willingness to get in there and muscle. Well, you've got a 6-ton truck, why not use it? Let's have a look at them heading through the S's. Malcolm Little, not a good run right at the moment. He really has found himself under an awful lot of pressure as they head up along Spectator Straight. And this is the Shell Rimula Super Trans-Tasman Super Truck Racing Challenge. It's been on for a few years, and everyone expects this traditional meeting to absolutely be head-to-head battles amongst the Aussies and the New Zealanders. Let's have a look. Malcolm Little putting up a real fight here with Gary Thompson. Thompson all over the back of him. And just look at the understeer as they come up onto the straight. You really do need a lot of steering.
Yeah, I mean, these guys really have their hands full trying to wind up enough lock to come onto the straight. Looking at Ron Salter there trying to make a move down the inside. He's certainly got his hands full. I can see the indicator's been on for a lap or two now. I think in the flapping around inside the cabin with his arms sort of manoeuvring around trying to get enough lock on, he's hit a couple of the controls.
What's interesting to note, they're a little tidier this time out for the 2-3 lap races. I've got a feeling they may very well have had the riot act read to them after the action we saw last week where they were charging across the infield with no regard whatsoever for Marshall's points or the fact that the track is the black stuff as they head up onto the straight. And remember, they're only 3 lappers. I don't think Ronnie Salter has an answer for Glenn Dobson. This is a great run from Glenn Dobson. Gets across the line, takes victory for Australia. Second to Ron Salter, the captain of New Zealand. So just goes to show Glenn Dobson, he has come a long, long way in his career. He used to be the truckie's mate. Now he is the lead driver in the team. And what a strong performance to hold out Ron Salter. Now, a A little bit of moving around, shuffling of grid positions. They will continue to roll, the key being that it's much easier on the trucks just to keep them, let the air flow through the engines, gearboxes, transmissions, and then bring them back up in a rolling start. So it requires a little bit of organisation on the fly. Let's have a look at who will head up this, the last of the 3-lap sprints, and then next week, of course, we'll have the final action in this, the 97 Trans-Tasman Super Truck Racing Challenge. So Dobson moves to the rear of field, and as you can well imagine, pretty daunting, Chris Haynes, with all of those trucks in front of you, and there might only be a handful of trucks in the particular type of races, but I tell you what, they're tough trucks to get past.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you see a little bit of action off the circuit in that people drop wheels on the edge, try and get a little bit of an advantage, try and find a bit of space, because once these guys are committed, I mean, you try and move a 6-tonne truck around the outside of someone, then you're going to finish off on the dirt sometimes.
Joey Scarcella coming from pole, heads down, but I think it is going to be Gary Davey and the TKM machine. Sure enough, Gary Davey has come across from the outside of front row. Beside him, the team captain. Oh, and squeezing up the middle is Rodney Crick. Now, you wouldn't think that's possible, would you? 3 abreast, but they're going to give it an absolute best shot here at Oran Park. And to be perfectly honest, I think you've got to hand it to the flag marshals who are prepared to stand there with this mountain of steel heading towards them and still standing there prepared to wave the flags and do their job. Gary Davey leads them up and over the Volvo dogleg, down into Momo for the first time, and when they head up onto the straight, it will be 2 laps to go. The pressure's on. Scarcella bump to the inside. I'm not quite sure who was caught up in all of that, but it was Neil Allport, in fact. Doesn't matter where you look in the field, there is plenty of action. Rodney Crick to the outside. Can he do this? Oh, he's Ron Salter up the inside, and Gary Davey very quickly going to find himself in the middle of the captain's sandwich as Crick comes to the outside. A lap and a half to go. This is electric action. Crowd on their toes, and Rodney Crick right round the outside is going to hand him the S's because he'll be in the right position. You can hear the crowd. They are ecstatic with this action, and you couldn't get it any closer. Chris Haynes, what about this from Rodney Crick? That is local knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent a bit of time with Rodney in a few drive programs, and Rodney is a very tough man. You don't get to win a couple of national championships by mucking around. I mean, and anyone that's going to beat him has got to try pretty hard and drive off the track virtually.
Well, Gary Thompson had a pretty good go there. A nice 360 around the marshal's booth and gets on with it. Gary Davey, well, we've seen him in action here plenty of times at Oran Park. In fact, famous for having destroyed the marshal's box down out of the bottom turn. In fact, consequently, they moved it. No one actually thought that a truck or any competition vehicle could get that far off the circuit. Gary Davey proved them wrong. Here's your leader, Rodney Crick, down into the bottom turn for the final time. That is a good-looking piece of gear, Chris Haynes. Gee, didn't they have to do some work on it after that incident in the first round here in qualifying?
Yeah, I mean, the racing trucks these days also have a fair bit of sophistication, and we've got to put a lot of effort into bringing it back after a major accident.
Well, unfortunately, the wheel, the driver's side wheel, was virtually underneath his seat, and you can imagine that's a fair amount of rearrangement of the truck. Let's have a look at them. Rodney Crick running away. Neil Allport sitting in second. There he is up and over the dogleg. Gary Davey for New Zealand sitting back in third place. So at the moment, the Australian captain, the ex-Australian Super Truck Racing champion, Rodney Crick, turns it on here at Oran Park. Up onto the straight in the style he knows best, and that's sideways. Neil Allport gets across for second. Gary Davey picks up third. And the New Zealand captain, Ronnie Salter, in for fourth. Hello and welcome to Sydney's Oran Park Raceway for the 1997 Trans-Tasman Super Truck Racing Championship. The Aussies have caught the Kiwis successfully over the past few years. This is one of the warm-up races, and you can expect there'll be plenty plenty of fireworks. Everybody getting revved up for what looks like a great day's action. Rolling start with you. The rolling start tactics absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly get off the line. They arrive down the end of the straight very fast on their first lap, and brakes are critical, and position on the track is very critical because whoever leads in the first turn is usually the guy's going to be very hard to overtake.
Well, let's have a look at them. There's two classes of trucks racing together here, and it's pretty easy to spot the differences. The little trucks are the SBRs, around about 330 horsepower, versus the big monsters, 6 tons and better than 1200 horsepower. And as you can imagine, they really do have their differences out there on the track. And that is Jeff Mackin up the inside through the dirt. Boy, oh boy, he has really decided to stamp his name on this one early. Have a look at the advantage the little truck has down through the S's. That's where he has to make his ground, Chris, and try and get away before they hit the straight.
Yeah, I mean, those rear wings seem to work pretty well too, considering there's not much weight on the back of it. I mean, it really does hook up and seem to be flowing nicely through most of those corners.
It certainly does. Bill Cedars sitting in second position. He's been in this game a while, as has Frank Amoroso. The names for truck racing fans should be familiar, and in 1997 we've seen the advent of the wings on the SBRs. They are starting to really look the part. The air's not real clean at the back of the truck, but any advantage will do, thank you very much. Jeff Mackin stunned everyone with an enormous performance at the first round of the Australian Super Truck Racing Championship here at Oran Park. He put that little SBR truck onto the front row as he gets it sideways, heading up through IC Coffee Corner. That is a performance, and no one could believe, Chris Holmes, that he actually... So here he is captaining New Zealand, whilst the reigning champion in this country. It's complicated, but that's truck racing for you. Down through the S as they come, and it really is a matter of try and stay off the dirt. I mean, you sometimes, obviously, just like here, Gary Davies finding himself being pressured to the inside. Rodney quick round the outside. That is the long way, but Gary Davies more than prepared to fight back for it. To give you an idea, Salter already up and over the dogleg as they were heading up Spectator Straight. Neil Allport in second position, ex-rally racer from New Zealand, loves it sideways, loves it in the dirt, and he's probably doing A-OK in truck racing with those credentials. Gary Davies, the TDM truck machine, he has been in Australia on many occasions, Chris Holmes. He's famous for knocking down the marshals at the end of the straight.
Yeah, that's not a real good reputation to have, I don't think, especially with the flag marshals around here. But I think that the New Zealanders are obviously going to be running some sort of team play here. The aim of the game is to get the points on the board and to win the series for your country. And no matter what goes on, I mean, it's going to be really hard and fast for the last couple of laps.
They are, including this man, Rodney Crick. He's based here at Oran Park, teaches advanced driving, or has taught advanced driving here for many years. The blinkers going on him. He's been fairly busy in the cabin. And once these things are wound up, they really do carry momentum through the corners. It's very much a matter of pick your lines. It's also worth pointing out too that Oran Park being a left-hand circuit, the driver on the right-hand side, it is impossible to see apex of the corners. To a large degree, it's almost feel your way around the circuit. The ripple strips tell you where you are. You can't actually see. Now, if anyone's up the inside of you, of course, that makes it all the worse. You really do have to follow the leader and hope they're taking you in the right direction. Positions unchanged. Ron Solar leads ahead of New Zealander Neil Allport, so it's Kiwis 1 and 2, then Gary Thompson, the first of the Aussies. Rodney Crick, Captain Kangaroo, still fighting his way back, looking for any which way to get past the right hand to the front. That is Joe Scarcella, another truck racer who's done plenty of miles around Oran Park. Ron Solar's truck, Chris Holmes, is high-tech. We're talking data lock, we're talking the latest in disc brakes. They have more electronic equipment on that truck than you see in the majority of touring cars.
Yeah, the advantage of that equipment, of course, is that when you go out testing, it's no longer a hit and miss affair. You can go out and do a few laps around Oran Park, come back in, download the information, and compare the fastest lap with the one that wasn't so fast. And you go back to the pits and you say, all right, well, let's set the car up exactly the way that we had it when it did the fastest lap, and concentrate and work on that. And it's no accident that people that use that sort of equipment finish up leading a race. But the downside is that everybody then finishes up having that equipment. The whole thing just moves up a few notches, and the end result is a race truck these days, a very sophisticated piece of equipment.
Well, they certainly are virtually sports sedans, only in a larger version. Settled out with the chassis constructed right from bare metal up, and from there on, to start throwing money at them. Ron Salter's Desmond, Salter, a problem. Allport's just blasted right on by. Now, what's happened? We're not sure, but either way, Ron Salter would be in all straights if he thinking to himself, I've worked too hard for this to lose it now. Gary Thompson, he's now making some ground. So, Ron Salter with problems. That now hands the race lead to Neil Allport. I wonder whether Gary Thompson would rather be chasing Neil Allport than Ron Salter. I've got a feeling that Ron Salter can make that track wider than any track anywhere. Amongst these guys, he is well respected for his ability not to be fast.
Just mentioned about the $2 million value in truck shortly after the thing slows down. I'm not sure if it really is a problem when they're trying to make it turn on. Then again, just because you spend a lot of money on something doesn't mean it's absolutely going to be 100% reliable. If you watch Formula One, how many Formula Ones finish the race? They do break down.
Certainly do, and they're copping some punishment. Rodney Crick is on the charge. Boy, was he driving hard down through the S's the last time through. That's Gary Thompson with Muscat Trailers machine. There's your leader, Allport, up onto the straight. There's 3 or 4 laps left to run, and I think team orders would be well being flung around everywhere right at the moment. This is close. Given that they finish in this position, Chris Haynes, I believe that the Kiwis could very well win their first Trans-Tasman Super Truck Challenge. Rodney Crick, well, you can bet he is determined that that won't happen. And Neil Allport looks calm and cool in the truck. Not a lot of steering angle coming on the steering wheel. That tells you the tyres are still okay. You can imagine the tyres take. So, there we have Joe Scarcella with Rodney Crick right in behind him. Now, surely he would move across and allow Rodney Crick to get right on by in order to try and get as far forward as he possibly can. Our leader, though, down into Ricardo. Only a couple of laps left to run, and his heart would be pounding at this point, knowing the situation. It's funny, race car drivers, motorcycle racers, they seem to be able to race and calculate points in their head at the same time. It's funny when you've got a vested interest and you really have to figure it out. The tactics, yeah, you can work that out, point scores somehow. Do that in your head at the same time. Salter, he is under a bit of pressure here from Thompson, but it seems, oh, Rodney Crick! How desperate is Rodney Crick to try and take this right to the front? Absolutely broadside at the bottom turn, and he forced Scarcella winning. That would have been a disaster for the point score.
Sure would have. In a lot of trouble and have a fair bit of hang on their faces had they done that. Just looking at Allport's vehicle a minute ago, see a bit of blue smoke around the back of it occasionally. What that is tyre smoke. Now at that point, when the thing is really wanting to light up the rear tyres, trying to put that horsepower down and push that 6-tonne truck along the circuit. But he's got to be very, very careful in that situation. He starts to use that horsepower too much, burn up those rear tyres, it's going to be riding around even more, and he won't be getting anywhere.
And he needs them for another couple of kilometres. They're on their last lap. What a performance from Neil Allport. A nice, tidy run. Not sure what happened to Ron Salter, but either way, he's fallen back to second. Now, I am certain the way things are sitting right at the moment, it is going to be a New Zealand victory in the Trans-Tasman for this year as they head down into the S's for the final time. Neil Allport, nice and tidy. Ron Salter riding shotgun in second position. The first of the Australians, Gary Thompson, sitting in third place. Our captain, Rodney Crick, fighting, trying to make some ground. And Joe Scarcella, he'll be the next one through. So it's Joe Scarcella sitting in fourth position. Rodney Crick back in fifth. Malcolm Little, after being lapped, will pick up sixth place. But for the final time and the run to the flag, this is Neil Allport, and he will be winning this for New Zealand. What a performance as he heads for the line. Victory for Neil Allport. Ron Salter in for second. Gary Thompson in for third. But it will not be good enough. The New Zealanders win for the first time the Trans-Tasman Super Truck Racing Challenge. History being made here at Oran Park, and a brilliant performance. Congratulations to the Kiwis. Once again, the burnouts at the end of the day signal that it's been a pretty good day's racing. In fact, here at Oran Park, we've had a fantastic day. Chris Holmes, they really did turn it on for the crowd.
Well, I think we might have a New Zealand versus Australia donut competition and see who comes out the winner.
Well, certainly a mile of fun here at Oran Park. We thank you for your company. We look forward to seeing you next. Hello and welcome to Sydney's